So today I made a lot of progress in the last video, if you guys didn't notice. I'm trying to get as much done as I can. This is going to be one of those videos, like I had to clean, I'm not going to film everything I do, but I cleaned the entire garage. It needed it so bad. I couldn't move around in here. We have her on all four wheels. She's square. Pinion angles are where they need to be. Within reason, there's going to be a little wiggle room once there's an engine and tranny in it. But it's a huge milestone when you can see your car on all four wheels. I feel like that's a big one. You know, that's kind of the first big milestone, I guess. Like when you see that, then you're like, all right, dude, it's like a motivational way to continue on to your project and try to get it done. Because when you see it on all four wheels, you know what it's going to look like, and then you're picturing it going down the road, and then you're like, man, I got to get the steering squared away, I got to get the engine in there, whatever. So I guess my next step, what I'm going to try to do in this video is I'm going to mock I have a engine block and I have a transmission in here. I'm going to try to tie them together. I'm going to I have to cut out a lot inside the car, and each brace that I cut out along the floor, when I cut the back one out, I have to leave the first two intact. If you cut them all out at the same time, your car is going to be all wonky. So I got to do one at a time. Now, granted, I have to admit, each video that you guys have seen, I'm not filming this like a bad Chad where it's live and you're seeing every second of me working on it, which I think that's awesome that he does that, because it goes to show like a true build. Like, he only works on those cars like while you're there watching, so you get to actually see it be built, like not sped up, not time lapse like I do. But I know people aren't gonna. I just don't have someone to film me, and I don't have the battery power. I don't have the space to film, and I don't get a lot done. He does hour-long episodes. I'm not getting as much as he gets done in an hour. Sometimes I might get stuck taking a bolt off for an hour. So I like to try to make each video that I put out is a day that I was out here. Sometimes 2 days, like the last one was 2 days. But ultimately, like if you look back, I don't even know what episode, I think this is episode 14. That's 14 days that I spent on this so far from start to finish. It's nice to break it up. If I do this all day, every day, I get burnt out. I'd rather just pick at it and do it. I like to work on this 2 days a week, and then I spend like a whole evening editing. A lot goes into the editing. People don't realize it. Even though mine's really simple and there's not special effects. There's no movie magic, but it's still a lot. You have to add the music. There's a lot to it. We're at a point now where I'm super stoked to get this. Like, I don't show, like I said, I don't show everything, but like getting this to sit the way it did, like it has the slightest amount of rake to it. Like down here, there's maybe 3 inches, from the back height to the front height. There's not even, there's about an inch, because I wanted to allow for, the engine. The engine's going to probably drop it down another, 2 inches, maybe 3, depending. So I wanted to have it sit a little higher than what it was going to be finalized as. You get what I'm saying. I didn't want to set it too low and then put the engine in there and it'd be scraping on the street. You know what I mean? Like, you have to take these things into consideration, and I think I got it exactly where I wanted it to. Obviously, I was trying to do it, but like I wasn't expecting it to work out, and it did. And I'm super stoked about it. I got to use the original straight axle. I saved myself, $250 on the straight axle. I used some of the old parts. I used the old, the wishbone. I only spent $50 on the bungs from eBay to put these together. It's a nice little kit for $50, man. It's all you need. Because if I would have bought aftermarket wishbones, you're talking like $300-400, and then the axle is $250. I would have had almost, I would have had $500 or $600 into an axle and wishbones, and they're free. Like, there's nothing wrong with using the original shit. I prefer to use as much original shit as possible. Obviously, I had to put disc brakes on it. I'm not really a huge like. I would go drums. Like I have no problem with drums, but you know the kit's not that expensive, and the front end of this car, man, these things are go-karts with V8s in them, and I want the front end to be, you know, as safe as possible. I want this thing to, when I hit that brake pedal, I want it to stop. So just felt like I had to explain myself again. Once again, I have to always add, like, I don't know what I'm doing at all. I'm not a professional. I was never trained in any of this stuff. I'm self-taught. Do this at your own risk. You know, it doesn't hurt to ask questions. It doesn't hurt to talk to people who do this, who build it. Some of the older guys, man, like, I love how a lot of you guys put your input in. You give me encouragement. You teach me things. I've learned so much from you guys. Ultimately, you got to get out here and it's trial and error. You're going to learn what welds are strong, what welds aren't, what works, what doesn't, because if you're doing it, you're doing it. But it never hurts to like look into it a little bit. You know, it's just your life, you know. But let's get going on this, man. That was enough. Way too much talking, way too much. guess this is a good time to stop today. A lot went on because that you didn't see because my phone died, and I'm just trying to get the pinion angle of this, man. I keep saying pinion angle, but yeah, I guess it is the pinion angle. It's at about 5 right now, and it looks completely flat, but it needs to go down like a degree or two. 5 would probably be okay, but I'm not being an idiot this time. I'm making sure that there is enough clearance. You can see it right there. I'm not gonna get the motor mounts all welded up and get the frame, boxed and completed, and then have to cut more firewall out. I don't want to cut any more of the firewall out than I already did. I don't even like that I had to do that, but it is what it is. I knew I was going to have to, but it doesn't look that bad. The engine's not going to sit up super high. And the motor mount should be all right. I have one motor mount that I got off of an old engine, but I only have one. So I'm going to have to like modify the motor mount arm, whatever you want to call it, man. I'm gonna have to cut that down because it's too long. It's actually that's made for a Dodge. So, but they were laying around because I had them for my 48, and yeah, here we are. The tranny, I made a tranny mount while the phone was charging. You can see that plate. Obviously, it needs to be cut off and tack welded into place. I'm just going to use this cross member for the mount because it's only like 1.5 inches off. So I'll just weld a tab on there and it'll rest just fine. I'm not sure if I want to use that plate, or that plate's like 1/4 inch. I mean, it's super heavy duty. It's not gonna, that would be fine. But I don't know. That's going to be another day though. I'm out of welding gas too. But I thought I was going to have to cut all this up, which I am going to have to cut that one there. That cross member has to be cut after I weld that one up. But I got to make sure everything is straight and the way it's supposed to be before I do all that. And yeah, I mean, I'm going to have a lot of work to do. A lot of work to do on this floor. I'm going to be welding brackets from up there down, and I have to restructure. Silly me, I thought when I first started this build, before I decided to make it a lowrider, I was hoping to not even have to cut up the floor. That's why I did this floor the way I did it to begin with, was because that's how I plan on doing it. But yeah, I gotta make sure everything's centered, and yeah, but at least I got this mocked up. Kind of get an idea of, it's gonna come forward a little more too. Like when I had this water pump on it. I have this old water pump over here, and with that water pump on it, I was able to see how far that would stick out, which I should be fine as far as clearance from the bar. And I could go back, I don't know. It's sitting in here a little crooked. I'd like the engine to go up a little higher. I might make that bracket go up higher. I might just put a square piece of tubing in there for the motor mount instead of using that thin plate. I thought it was going to be resting low like that, but then I'm going to have the drive shaft, and yeah, I mean, I have a piece of drive shaft over here. It's hiding back there. I could use that. Well, I mean, I don't need to use that. I'll just use a piece of string. But yeah, I mean, this is crazy. There's a lot that needs done. I'm tired. And I'm just glad that I'm getting near the mock-up. I'm glad the mock-up stage is almost over, because then I have to tear this thing completely back apart, finish this frame, and get the engine built, and all that fun stuff. But I can't go any further until I get motor mounts, and I don't have anything to make any motor mounts out of right now. So that's going to be it for this episode. So thank you for watching as usual, and we'll see you on the next one.